This is the Treasure Island Baseball Network.
It's time to check in with your Minnesota Twins. Going inside the front office, the clubhouse, the minor leagues, the spotlight is on your team. Welcome to Inside Twins.
Well, welcome indeed to Inside Twins. I'm Mark Janowski. Thank you for joining us today and spending a little bit of time and letting us talk Twins baseball. 2 weeks from today, pitchers and catchers reporting their first workout down in Fort Myers, slated for February 12th. Some news and notes to get to before we get to our guest today on the program, which is going to be Grady Sizemore. The Twins and Joe Ryan agreed to a contract right before they were going to have an arbitration hearing. So Joe Ryan is inked and ready to go for this season. Twins also made it official with Victor Caratini, bringing him in on Friday. He signed a 2-year contract. He's going to back up Ryan Jeffers behind the plate, but also expect to see Victor doing some DHing and playing over at first base. And then our good friend Taylor Rogers is back. He signed a 1-year deal, the lefty reliever, returning home back to where he started his big league career. And then earlier today, some news that the Twins traded catcher Johnny Pareda to the Seattle Mariners in exchange for cash. So 2 weeks from today, pitchers and catchers are going to be reporting down to Fort Myers. Also, some new faces that we're going to see, not just from the players' perspective, but also on the coaching staff perspective. And one of those guys who's on Derek Shelton's staff this year is our guest today at Inside Twins. He's going to be the first base coach. He's going to be working with the outfielders. He's also in charge of base running. It is Grady Sizemore. Grady, welcome to Inside Twins.
Oh, appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Now, you're joining us right now from Arizona. From a coaching perspective, what's these last 2 weeks look like for you now getting ready for spring training compared to when you were a player and getting ready for either the Grapefruit or the Cactus League?
Not a lot changes. I think you're really just trying to come up with a plan for spring training, how we want to, start it, kind of build guys up slowly, get the progressions going. And, for me, it's still kind of building relationships with these guys and kind of getting to see them, maybe in person for the first time as opposed to just, across the diamond.
Yeah, no, I did have a chance to see you briefly on Saturday at Twins Fest. Unfortunately, I did not get a chance to say hi. I did see you, I guess the kids like to use the word networking with players as much as you could. Just talk about the advantage of an event like that for you as a new guy to the organization before you even have to start working with them on the field.
Yeah, I think it's just nice to kind of, make the introductions and get to know these guys, kind of build a personal relationship and, maybe just get some ideas on how they want to start. And so we're on the same page when spring does get going.
Who was the player that you saw on Saturday that you were most excited to at least go face to face with?
I was excited to meet everybody. I think it's just trying to get to know these guys. And like you said, I've seen these guys, playing against them. So it's just kind of building those relationships and getting to know them. And then, like I said, just it's all new for me. So I think for me, it's just trying to get to know everybody, not just the players, but everybody in the organization and start to build those relationships.
Well, what's not new is your relationship with Derek Shelton. You're going to be on his staff here with the Twins, but you guys go way back. He was a hitting coach for you when you were with Cleveland. You guys crossed paths in Tampa Bay. Talk a little bit about the role that Shelty has had in your baseball career.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's been I've had him as a hitting coach, more than anyone else in this game, so I think I had my best seasons with Derek. Just not only been a great coach for me, but a good friend. We've had a good relationship over the years, even, as I kind of stepped away from the game. So, excited to be on his staff, excited to kind of see him, as a manager. I've seen him in the dugout as a coach, but I've never actually, been next to him as a manager. So excited to kind of see how he operates from the different position and, just looking forward to being an asset for him and helping any way I can.
Yeah, he certainly comes across as a very affable, jovial individual. I think everybody here in Twins territory, interesting to see how he is. We had a brief little run with him when he was a bench coach for 2 years, one with Paul Molitor and one with Rocco. What was the conversation like when he reached out, when the Twins reached out and said, hey, would you like to come up north and join the staff?
I think Derek was a big influence in my decision. I think just the way he kind of came about, talking about how he wanted to form his staff and who he wanted to be a part of it, and just what he had in mind for me. It was really exciting. I think, like I said, our relationship goes back. So, to hear him talk just about trying to form a staff and what he's looking for and who he wants and what his vision is for this team was a big, decision. It was a big factor in why I made the decision to come over here.
Grady Sizemore is our guest on Inside Twins, talking about being on Derek Shelton's staff this year. Last couple of years, you were down on the south side of Chicago with the White Sox. You were on the coaching staff in 2024 and interim manager for the final 45 games that year. Last year, the hitting coordinator, or their hitting coach, if you will. I want to know, what is the most important thing you learned from your time down there that you're carrying with you now in this stop and then wherever hopefully you go?
Oh gosh. I think the biggest thing is that you're constantly learning. You're trying to, learn these players, learn what makes them tick, how to motivate them, what they respond well to. And then trying to blend that with, the approach for the team. You're trying to come up with a game plan every day where some advantage that you have that maybe you can take advantage of, or any type of thing that gives you a competitive edge. So, for me, it's just, trying to, learn the player's strengths and work backwards from there, and then put them in the best position to succeed. So I think it's, it's really just kind of working together too. It's trying to find that common ground, that balance with the staff and the players, where we're all kind of aligned and working for a positive outcome.
Now, I mentioned you were the interim manager at the back end of that 24 season. Is that eventually where you personally would like to get back to again, managing a big league club?
Well, I could definitely say it was exciting. It was a fun experience, even though it was a tough year. I think for me, it's, I'm just looking for opportunities. I'm looking for opportunities to make an impact and try to just be a positive force for players and for coaches, and give back as much as I can. If I certainly get that opportunity again, I'd be very, very happy. And, so far I've just been grateful for all the opportunities. Very humbling experience. And it was fun. I learned a lot. And just hoping that I can continue to have, opportunities to kind of, give back and make that impact.
Well, an opportunity you're going to have this year is going to be to work with Byron Buxton, to see him up close and personal from this side of the fence. Twins fans been talking for years, just, boy, if Buck could be healthy, Buck was healthy last year, and we saw what he was able to do. I want your take on Byron Buxton as a guy who watched him from the other side here the last couple seasons. And also, can you compare him to anybody from when you played, anybody maybe on your own team or guys you played against?
Oh gosh, yeah, he's in his own category. I think there's not too many guys that are that level of explosiveness and speed and power. Maybe Matt Kemp, maybe a faster version of Matt Kemp. But again, like there's not many athletes like that. To see a guy that can play center field that way and have the speed and the power at the plate and on the bases, it's very unique. And it's tough. Injuries are going to be a part of the game, and I think when you're that big and that lean of an athlete, you're going to have some issues come across the way, just because it's just 162 games. It's in year after year. It's hard not to. So hopefully we can keep him healthy and give him what he needs. And I'm just looking forward to watching him play. There's not much I have to worry about with a guy like that. You just you stay out of his way and let him go do his thing. But definitely excited to work with him and see it close up.
Byron not able to be at Twins Fest on Saturday. Have you had a chance to talk to him yet at all?
I haven't. I think with some of those guys, a guy like that, a veteran guy, I'm not going to bother him in the offseason. I know he's hibernating, he's doing his thing with his family and friends and doing what he needs to do. If he wanted to reach out to me, that's fine. But again, I don't have to worry about a guy like that. I've been in that position. I know that, players aren't probably looking for coaches to get in their ear and try to get feedback in their offseason. This is their time. I want to respect that. I know he'll show up to camp ready. He's not anyone I have to worry about.
I'm excited to get this answer. I want you to critique him defensively, because you've got a pair of gold gloves on your resume from your playing days. I want to hear what you have to say about Byron with the way he patrols center field.
There's no critique, I guess. I think it's just like you said, staying healthy and giving him the information he needs. I think, for our guys, I think it's going to be, there's still going to be some learning factor with some of the guys that haven't maybe played with him, and just kind of getting that feel for range and just comfort level of having a guy left to you, right and left that knows your range and what you're capable of in the communication. So I think it's just going to be a matter of kind of getting these guys comfortable with each other. And for him, again, it's you stay out of the way. You let that guy go be an athlete, let him do his thing. And like I said, it's exciting to watch. Hopefully we just, can keep him healthy and get the best version of him.
I think I would like to sit around, just be a fly on the wall, and have you two talk about playing defense in center field and going to get it from when you were playing, and then when he maybe make a web gem or something this year. That'd be a good conversation. I'll stand back. I won't interrupt. I'd like to hear that conversation, hear you guys go back and forth. I mentioned, so you're going to work with outfielders, first base coach. You're also going to try to help with some of the base running aspects this year. So last year, after the trade deadline, one of the messages that the Twins fans heard from the front office and that the team then went forward with was being more aggressive, stealing, more first to third, that style of baseball. Have you guys had conversations already with that in terms of, is this going to be part of the identity of the 26 squad?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the plan is to take opportunities and be aggressive. I think building off of kind of where they finished last year, I think that was a change they wanted to make, was be aggressive. Let's try to create pressure on the defense and look for opportunities. So we're going to continue with that. We're going to try to just look for any advantage we can on the bases and make that be a kind of an X factor for us, or something that separates us, and helps us just create offense. I think there's a lot you can do on the bases. It's not all about, speed and that kind of thing. There's different things you can do, no matter how fast or slow you are, you can be a good base runner and look for any opportunity. So we're going to continue that and push that and have that be a big message coming into camp.
Well, expand on that part a little bit, that there's more than just speed that a guy can do from your playing days. And then when you've been on the bench coaching, what have you been able to pick up on and relay to folks that may help them make up for, okay, they're not the fastest guy, but they really go first to third well?
Yeah, well, I think it's timing. I think timing and footwork are huge. I think you don't, like you said, there's always guys that can outrun the baseball with elite speed, but when you don't have that, you can still be an elite base runner if you're just paying attention, if you're using your feet in the timing of the play to be in the right position. So I think focusing on timing, footwork, and just the situation of the game will give guys an advantage. I think we're just going to look to be aggressive and take advantage and try to put pressure on defenses and not let up. So I think that's my big message to these guys, will be just focusing on timing and being in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, Twins looking to try to build off of some momentum from the final 2 months of the season last year on the bases. They only attempted 66 stolen bases the first half of the season last year. They had 66 stolen bases in the second half of the season. Final question for you, Grady, before we take a break. You spent the last 2 years with the White Sox. Twins fans know you very well from your time in Cleveland. Are you worried that it's going to be a lukewarm reception? You got to earn some of the fans coming up and being happy to see you after the way you tormented the Twins through your career?
Well, I wouldn't take it personal if it was like that. I'll understand where they're coming from. But again, yeah, you always have to build that relationship, even with the fans and the community. So that's a part of it. Hopefully they know that I'm wearing their colors now. I'm a part of their team and their organization in that city. So like I said, we're all trying to accomplish the same goal, and hopefully we can do that and do right by the city and the organization.
Second most homers and RBI against any opponent for you in your career, the Twins. You also hit 477 off of Carlos Silva. You ever see Carlos in his playing days? It just kind of, you grin when you see him, and does he shake his head?
Those are one of those players that I did feel a little more comfortable with. But I think if you pulled up my numbers off Joe Nathan or Liriano, it may not be quite as good.
Well, like I said, you certainly tormented the Twins enough, especially in that 3 to 4 year window there with Cleveland. Grady Sizemore is our guest. This is the first segment of Inside Twins. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Grady's on the hot seat. He's going to play Cardack right here in your home for Twins baseball.
Twins fans, want flexibility and savings with your baseball experience? Check out My Twins membership. It's free to enroll, and any ticket or ballpark purchase earns you rewards. Become a My Twins member today at twins.com/mytwins.
Mark Janowski, welcoming you back to Inside Twins. Our guest this week is Twins first base, outfield base running coach Grady Sizemore, and it is time to have Grady enter the realm of game show as we are going to play Cardack. So, Grady, here's what we do. We're going to pop up the back of a baseball card on the screen. We'll reveal some clues. I will also read them so our audience on radio can hear what you're looking at, and then we're going to ask you to submit a guess. Sound good?
Sounds good. Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's get the card number 1. So our first clue on card number 1, as we pop it back up on the screen. All right, so drafted in the first round of the 2020 draft, acquired by the Twins. He was a key member of Vanderbilt's 2019 national championship team. Any guesses yet?
Oh gosh. Okay. So key member Vandy. Oh no, I don't know. That's
Okay.
tough.
It's an outfielder you're going to be working with. He in the final month of 2025, he led the
Austin
team.
Martin?
Austin Martin is correct.
Yeah.
There you go. You see Austin Martin. And a little, I guess, a spoiler alert. We didn't talk about Austin Martin in the first segment of the show because I was holding out to have your thoughts on Austin Martin here in the second half. So Austin unable to be at Twins Fest also. But again, he really took advantage of his opportunity last year after the trade deadline. Just your thoughts when you get a chance to look at him with his skill set, what stands out?
Yeah, a very good athlete, a unique skill set. Good combination of just on base speed, good defense. So like an exciting guy to work with, a guy that he can kind of fill a lot of baskets with the way he plays his game. So definitely a guy I'm excited to see up close and in person, and try to get the most out of him and see what makes him tick. Yeah.
Yeah, and versatile, but I think he really settled in second half last year playing left field here for the Twins. All right, let's get the card number 2. 1 for 1, Grady. 1 for 1. All right, first clue of our second guess. Okay, this player played both baseball and basketball during their only year of college. Clue number 2. Okay, somebody from Cleveland. He was a 13th round pick in the 1989 MLB draft. From Illinois.
89.
Throw up the next clue.
Right.
It's going to be some stats from an
Kenny
incredible
Lofton?
run.
Kenny
No,
Lofton?
not Kenny Lofton. This guy has hit more homers in the history of the Cleveland baseball team than any other player.
Oh God, that's not
Big
Tomey,
scrapping lefty.
Is that Tomey? He played basketball?
Jim Tomey, inducted into the Illinois Central College Hall of Fame class of 2023. It is Jim Tomey.
Oh,
Now,
I got to see that basketball tape. Yeah, I got to see that.
can you imagine him just down on the low post?
No, I
I
did not know that about Jim.
Yeah, can you see him just sitting there? Feed me. I got the guy. I got the guy blocked off. Yeah. So he played basketball and baseball as one and only year in college. Now, Jim told me you were traded. You were originally drafted by Montreal and traded to Cleveland during the 2002 season. That was Jim's final year there of his first run. But you were able to play with him a couple games in 2011 when Jim came back to Cleveland. And then, of course, Tomey involved with the White Sox the last couple of years. Talk about Jim's role in just where you have been and where you are in terms of baseball.
Yeah, Jim's like one of those guys that I think everyone gravitates to. When you're around him, hitters are always trying to pick his brain. I think he kind of commands the room, has a lot of respect around the league, and guys, just like I said, they gravitate to him. They want to hear his thoughts. They want to get close to him and just kind of pick his brain. He was one of the nicest guys you've ever been around, and then one of the toughest guys in the batter's box. So it was a fun guy to play with, fun guy to play against. I think one of those guys that no matter who you are in the game, you're rooting for someone like that. So grateful for my time spent with him, and even working with him these last couple of years has been good. So one of the greats.
And again, when you joined Cleveland at the mid-season of 2002, you made your debut a couple years later. Were you hearing stories about who Jim was, and was his impact still felt even though he had moved on?
Yeah, I mean, I think Jim was one of those guys. I remember playing video games with this guy, like old school, like so, like those Jim was one of those like guys that everyone talked about him, everyone knew about him. I watched him, as a fan for many years. So getting the chance to play against him, play next to him, was amazing. Yeah. So again, like I said, I've never heard anyone say a bad thing about this guy. Just a class act. One of the greats.
Yeah, we definitely enjoyed his season and a half here with the Twins back in 2010 and 2011. All right, 2 for 2. Let's get to our third and final card in Cardack. And our first clue on this individual, third round draft pick in the 2007 Major League Baseball draft.
2007.
The player has twice been involved in a 3-team trade.
Okay.
There's some stats from a good run he had, including 2017 in Tampa Bay when he hit career high 30 homers and 78 RBI.
Okay. And 7. Was that Longoria, maybe?
No.
That's
Last
not,
one.
have a 3-team trade.
I was a teammate with the only other Major League Baseball player from Cascade High School.
He's a teammate with mine?
Yeah.
In Tampa? Oh, from Cascade. Was that Souza?
Yep. I see you guys cross paths very briefly in 15, but when we were looking at things, I'm like, how odd is it that the only 2 players to make the major leagues from the same high school were eventually teammates, albeit just for a brief period of time?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Was that anything you guys even talked about during that little window? Like, here's 2 guys from the same high school and now we're on the same team.
All I remember him was bragging about how he took over my football rushing record, and it still hurts a little bit. I think I still got him in yards per carry, but I think he got me in total yards.
So you guys both made your mark up there in Washington on the gridiron as well as the diamond.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought it was so odd that, there would only be 2 guys to come through a high school. And I know you guys are separated by a couple of years, but
Yeah.
All right, we're going to call that 3 for 3, Grady. And I know that's not odd given your baseball career, especially what you did against the Twins. So 3 for 3 in Cardack. Good job.
Oh, you rattled me there. Yeah, we were all over the place. Yeah, that was good.
No, you did a good job. All right, sit tight. When we come back, there's going to be some questions from the fans. We've been taking them here on Facebook and X and YouTube, and we'll throw them Grady's way next, right here on your home for Twins baseball.
Twins fans, want flexibility and savings with your baseball experience? Check out My Twins membership. It's free to enroll, and any ticket or ballpark purchase earns you rewards. Become a My Twins member today at twins.com/mytwins.
Final segment of Inside Twins. Welcome back. I'm Mark Janowski. Grady Sizemore, Twins first base, outfield, base running coach, joins us as our guest on this week's show. Grady, we're going to have questions for the fans in a minute, but first, I get the first question. And what stood out to me when I ran into, and again, I apologize for not introducing myself on Saturday, your jersey. You're wearing number 0 here with the Twins after basically 24 your entire career. So I wanted to know, have you approached Simeon Woods Richardson about doing a jersey swap, or are you okay with wearing the 0?
I'm okay with 0. Yeah, a lot of my top choices were gone, but happy to just to have a number. 0's fine with me.
You're going to join the lore of Billy Hamilton and Junior Ortiz, the only players to ever wear 0 as a player for the Minnesota Twins. So you are now in that select company. All right, let's see what some of the fans have on their minds for Grady Sizemore. Here's one from Wyatt. Who was your favorite Twin to play against?
Oh gosh, that's tough. Gosh, so many good ones. I'd have to go with either maybe Morneau or Punto.
Any particular reason about either Justin or Nicky?
I just love Morneau's swing. I liked his game, and he kind of had like that hockey personality on the field. And Punto, man, just the way he played with his hair on fire was just fun to watch. So those are probably my 2 favorite.
All right, Nick Punto or Justin Morneau. Let's get to our second question here for Grady Sizemore from John. Is there anything you'd wish fans understood better about what it's like during rehab? So as you're coming back and dealing with injuries, that's a good one, because I think fans always think, hey, why is this guy not back faster? What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I think fans have a pretty good understanding of it. I do think that, yeah, rehab is always a tough, injuries are just tough in general. I think, no two injuries are the same. Even if you have, two ACLs, it's going to hit a player different, depending on their body type and their makeup. But I think it's just, you need patience, because it is hard out there to play hurt. And a lot of these guys are playing banged up even when you guys don't know about it. So, the rehab part is frustrating, and guys want to be out there as fast as they can, but they also know that they're not doing themselves or the team any good if they're not at their best.
Now, back in your playing days and when you had to deal with injuries, was there any one person that really helped you through those moments?
Not it's not really. You kind of feel like you're isolated on an island a little bit. You're not really with the team. You're showing up early. You're doing your stuff beforehand. You're kind of on the outside looking in. So I think the hard part is still kind of feeling connected to the team. You feel a little bit disconnected and a little isolated, and you just kind of feel like you're not able to make the impact, and that kind of weighs on you mentally. So I think that's the hard part for a player, is just kind of dealing with that mental grind. And usually you have a guy or two that you can talk to about it, but you don't always have that. And I think it is a tough place to be.
Yeah, those comments echo what Pablo Lopez was talking about late last year, and again he reiterated that there in Twins Fest about you do feel isolated and you really want to be around the guys because they're your support team, your support system, and sometimes it's hard to grind through that. Okay, I think we have one more from the fans. Here's one from Adam. Hell, have you and Ramon Borrego spoke yet regarding working as the base coach counterparts for the Twins this year? You're going to be at first. Ramon's going to be on the other side of the diamond. That's a good question from Adam.
Yeah, yeah. We've spoken a little bit, but Ramon's been coaching in winter ball, so he's been pretty busy. It's been harder to get a touch with him than some of the other guys, but we've had a few calls, and we have a few more lined up in the next 2 weeks before we get going. So we'll be talking a lot over the next 2 weeks, and then as camp goes, to kind of get an idea, because he's one of the few guys that was here last year and has a good feel for these players. So his input is huge, and me kind of picking his brain as much as I can is going to be very vital for us, moving forward.
Were there some coaches meetings on Saturday in and around the events that Derek tried to pull everybody together?
Yeah, we did. We had some exercises and just kind of just took some time after Twins Fest to kind of get to know each other and work together and game plan coming up, for spring training. So yeah, we've been talking, all off season, and we took some time, after Twins Fest to kind of get to know each other and do some more of that. And then we'll keep doing that over the next 2 weeks leading up.
Okay, and when will you be making the trek to Fort Myers?
I'll be down there, I think I'm heading out the 9th, right after the Super Bowl. So heading down there February 9th, I believe.
All right, well, safe travels to you. Look forward to running into you down there, okay?
Sounds good. Yeah, thanks a lot.
All right, thank you for joining us. That's Grady Sizemore joining us this week on Inside Twins. We're going to be back again next week. 3 more shows, walking you right up to our first broadcast of spring training. Thank you for joining us this week. This is Mark Janowski, and you've been listening to Inside Twins.